Welcome to One on One, the podcast for tips, tricks, and techniques for the ON1 software community. And here's your host, Scott Kelby.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to One on One. Glad to have you here. We've got a lot to talk about, and also I got a special guest today. Dan Harlacher from ON1 is here, and I know what Dan's going to show you, and I'm really anxious to see how he's going to pull this off. He told me what it was. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm like, this I got to see. Hey, before we dive into things, I just want to mention we just announced my 14th annual worldwide photo walk. So this is a photo walk that happens all over the world in different cities all over the world. And it is a social photography event. So a group of up to 50 photographers get together and you walk around for a couple of hours and you wind up usually at like a restaurant or a pub, hang out, make some new friends, take some pictures. It's all for fun and it's all for charity. And you can find out more and sign up for a walk near you at worldwidephotoWalk.com. There's that guy. That guy, I could listen to him all day long. In fact, I do. And it's excruciating. Anyway, but that's it. The worldwidephotoWalk.com. Go check it out, and hopefully we'll get to see you walking the first Saturday in October, again, in cities all over the world. All right, so let's dive right in. So I want to show you some black and white stuff in effects. You guys know effects is kind of my jam, and I want to show you, we're going to talk about black and white. And there's a number of different ways and a number of little cool things that I don't think you might have uncovered. So let's go take a look. We're starting with this image here. Now, I was telling Dan about this image before we went on the air here. And so this is a museum in a park. And the park is full of sculptures and things. And I unfortunately, I can't remember the name of the museum that took this last year after I did a workshop in Lofoten, Norway. So this is about an hour outside of Oslo. And what amazing, like, architecture, like in the middle of a park, in the middle of a lake, here comes this otherworldly kind of structure. And I'm fascinated by it. It looks like an alien ship landed in a park. But we're going to start up here by going under the filter menu. And we're going to go to ON1 and we're going to go choose Effects 2025 right here. And it's going to take the image over here in a sec. There we go. It's zoomed in probably a little more than I need. So let's get it to fit in the window a little better. Come on. I need to resize my window here because my window is gone crazy. Here's what I'm going to do. So when we plugged in the connection to our control room, the resizing went crazy. So I don't know why, but give me a second. I'm going to restart it here because everything seems to work when you're testing it. But then when you actually go live, then nothing seems to work. So let's see if I can give this a fix. And well, this is a fun way to start, I think. Is it just me or is this just the best way? All right, let's let it relaunch because I had launched it earlier and my resolution is crazy. I don't know why I'm at such a weird resolution. And I know this is all stuff that you came here to hear about, my resolution issues. So let's just restart it and it'll hopefully start at the right resolution because I had it at the wrong one. So here we go. It should be okay now. Yeah, there we go. That's better. It's not giant. And when you first launch, it does check out for updates because they are, constantly keeping up on top of all the new stuff. All right, there we go. That's a little better. Okay, so this is the crazy thing here. Let me back it off a little bit so you can see a little better. There we go. Now, for the black and white, you go over here to where it says Add Filter, and let me see if I can get rid of my toolbar at the bottom. There we go. Go to Add Filter, and the one we're going to choose here is a black and white right here at the top. So now it starts off and gives you a default black and white, which isn't bad, but it's also not killer. But killer is right under this word more. Now you have 4 different like traditional using different filters, but I like what's under here under more. And you get live previews when you do this. So let's start up here with Adele. Now Adele is a bit of a dark exposure for this one. But let's go through and take a look at these. And again, as you move your cursor over them, you get a live preview. So here's like a blue filter. It doesn't make it look blue. It's just, it's mimicking what you would do in the dark room, right? So you use a blue filter. Look at this chrome one. Whoo! Now this chrome one, here's my thing for this chrome one, because this is one of my favorite ones. But it does a little bit too much to a sky. So it's great for the ground and foregrounds and buildings and all this stuff. If you have a sky, mask the sky so it doesn't affect the sky, and it works great for everything else. I like this one, coffee. That's one of my favorites. So one of my favorites are chrome. I like coffee. It's got almost like a little bit of kind of a brown tone to it. It's not a sepia, but it's got a little bit of something in there. Not a fan of cyanotype, never have been. Just going to show you because it's there. But this next one, these next two I really like. Deep blacks. Look at how nice and rich that is. That's a really good one. And I also like fade to black. So look at these two, the difference. I can just running my cursor over them. Gold toner is not one of my favorites. It's not bad. Grainy film is good. Green is okay. I like high key. And then there's high key blue, a high key lavender, a high key warm. I like high key warm. I'm not personally a fan of these colored, you know, I went to a black and white image for a reason. These just give you a tint of that color. I like this one though. I like the warm one. Infrared looks good. It doesn't look like infrared to me when I think of like an infrared camera, but it's that kind of black and white effect. Inky, love some inky. All right, neutral is kind of, I think, what you start off with. Orange, red, roadie's okay. It's really very, very punchy, like a lot of detail in there. Sepia toner's good. I like snappy warm. And by the way, if you're looking for a new wrap name, everyone has to have a wrap name for when they wrap. Snappy warm. Think about it. It's worth considering. Snappy warm. It's better than my other one, which is Lil Hungry. I'm Lil Hungry. All right, and then subtle selenium and yellow. There's just a lot of good ones here, right? So I'm going to go with like probably deep blacks, which is one of my favorites. Chrome looks really good too, but chrome has a lot of the dynamic contrast, so I'm going to go with just deep blacks, and that looks pretty good. The reason why I want to show you that is because there's some more that you can do. It's not just applying these base presets, and then I don't know if you would call them presets, I would say starting places or film emulation looks. Then, or they're not film emulation looks, they are, what's the word I'm looking for? Conversion emulations. They're the emulations of going into a regular darkroom and applying a blue filter or an orange filter or a green filter or whatever. All right, go down a little bit further, and you have two choices here. You can either do a channel mixer or a color response, and you've got an eyedropper here. So if you take the eyedropper and you move out over an area you want to adjust, you can drag left or right, and it will, let me see if I can scroll this up a little bit. I have to close this down up here, so there you can see it a little better. All right, this eyedropper right here, you can click over an area in your image, and you'll notice, see how it's moving the aqua slider? It knows what's under there. It knows the color that's under there, so it's going to adjust that. So now it's adjusting the blues, but of course it's adjusting what would be the blues in a color image, right? So it knows that this image originally was color, and I'm able to adjust that area individually. There's also an auto button to get you a starting place if you like. All right, and same thing with the tone here. So if you want to adjust anything else, like maybe open up the shadows just a hair, you can do that as well. But I want to draw your attention to what's down here at the bottom, the film grain. The film grain, and there's a toner as well. So if you want to add, you know, like some color to the highlights or shadows, but the film grain down here, they've got a bunch of film grains that are realistic based on different, like the Fuji films, the Ilfords, the Kodak films, and you can choose what you got. The T-Max down here. Let's do the T-Max 400, and then you can just crank it up if you want, but you have an amount slider, so you can add that look. There's just a lot you can do there, but this is just one of the places that you can do the black and white. So we can also go over to the presets as well. Now I cannot reach the little I don't know what's going on with my resolution, because I want to be able to show you some of the presets, but I can't get to the preset switch that pops them out. Now, I know that Dan is standing by, and maybe Dan will go, oh, Scott, the keyboard shortcut to pop those out is...
I'm trying to remember. I think if I hit tab twice, I'll probably get it.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
yes, Dan. Dan saves the day again. All right, these are the other ones that I wanted to show you. And I was going to reset this, but I can't get to the reset thing. Oh, it's killing me. You're killing me, Smalls. Anyway, I will just show you there are a number of these, and you can roll your cursor over them. Let's go to the black and white alternative here, and you can see these are kind of like, these are effects that you would add after. See, that looks more like an infrared, but it's just an inverse, I think. Ooh, that one looks pretty nice. All right, and then let's go here. You've got the black and white mattes. Now, these I think of would be for portraits. More for portraits than for this type of image. These are the flat ones that you've seen a million times on Instagram, but they're normally done with people, right? And then you've got black and white films, which is nice film looks, again, based on real, actual film looks. And all you have to do is find one you like. Ooh, I like that one. Ooh, that one right there. Yeah. So there's just a ton of things you can do. And also, for a finishing move to a lot of these, I'll go Add Filter. From the menu here, I will choose Vignette, and I will bring in a Big Softy, which is my favorite, and then just back it off to make it, to tune it to the image. So that's kind of a little finishing move that I would add to the end of the black and whites right there. Something along those lines. Hey, we got some folks tuning in from all over who are being very patient while my my resolution is like 640 by 480. Say hi to Shelly from Nashville, and John's here from Kansas City. Dave's here. He says hello from Niles, Michigan. And let's see who's here. Holly is here. Hey, Holly from Sarasota, Florida. And Rita's here from Indiana. And Meh is here from Toronto. And Benjamin is all the way from Valencia, Spain. So welcome to everybody. If you have any questions or comments, you can just shoot them right there in the comments field, same place you just gave the shout outs. But I want to get Dan on here because Dan's got some, I'm really interested to see the rabbit that Dan pulls out of his hat today, because he was I cannot imagine how he's going to do the thing that he just was telling me about. So I'm very anxious to see this. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, all the way from somewhere in Oregon, from ON1's own crew, Dan Harlacher. Hey, Dan, welcome.
Hey, Scott, thanks for having me again.
Hey, thanks for the double tab tip.
Yeah, well, I think we're all messed up today because we're all just focused on Taylor Swift announcing her engagement.
Right, I know.
Kelce today, so it's all I can think about. So.
I know, dude, I'm surprised I could even start the show.
Yeah, exactly. So.
My wife predicted this a while back, so she had to text me immediately and said, I told you they were going to get married. So I don't know what it's going to do to football or music, but I imagine it's going to be something good. All right.
Yep. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, what I wanted to talk about is how to simulate intentional camera movement, but doing it after the shot. If you're not familiar with the concept of intentional camera movement or ICM, it's physically taking the camera and moving it when you take a picture using a longer shutter speed. You'll use it for panning. It's kind of the most common example where you have a moving subject and you keep the subject in the frame as you move across. It's a great way to minimize distractions in a background, and it also adds a lot of dynamic movement to the photo, makes it more interesting. But there's lots of other kinds of intentional camera movement as well. If you have a zoom lens, you can zoom the lens back and forth, or you can actually twist the camera side to side using a longer shutter speed, and you can get all sorts of really cool looks. Now, the only terrifying part about it is you have to do it while you're doing it, which means you might miss a shot, especially if it's something moving like a train or a race car or something like that. It's like you only get one shot at that. So why not shoot it so that it freezes the motion and then use software later to add that motion to it? It could also take a boring shot and just make it more exciting and more fun. So I'm going to show you a couple different ways to add ICM to your photo. So here we go. I am inside of Photo Raw. I'm just going to go to Effects, and I'm going to grab the Super Select AI tool. And I'm going to use this just because it does a great job of making my selections for me. And then I'm just going to kind of drag a box over this couple on a scooter. And you notice how it maybe didn't grab up quite all of it. So I'm just going to click a few more times until it gets pretty much all these folks in there. Do, 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 do. Feel like I need some background music, Scott.
Do, 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 do.
There we go. Let me get these guys. That's most of them. That's a tricky one. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a blur, but I want to add it to the background, not to them, right? So to add it to the background, I'm just going to change the toggle up here from paint to erase. And then I'm just going to right click, gives me a list of all of my filters, and I'm going to pick blur. So boom. So it's blurred the background. Doesn't look very realistic yet, obviously. So we're going to make some adjustments. I'm going to change it from a normal blur to a radial blur. Ooh, that's a little more fun. And I'm going to grab the centering tool, and this lets me center where that motion comes from. I'm going to make sure it's right behind them. There we go. And then let's turn our amount down to something a little bit more realistic. You can see, it's like, oh, our light speed. Let's go to something a little softer, maybe 3, and I'm going to move my smoothing. Smoothing adds just a little bit of additional blur to kind of smooth out that motion. Probably about 3 and 3. So there you go. Look at that. How fun is that?
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. And the great thing about intentional camera movement is the edges of your subject are pretty much never perfect anyway, because they're at the periphery, they're moving more than the center. So it's okay if the edges aren't perfect. It's just kind of a fun way to style things. Let me zoom in a little bit so you guys can take a little closer look. So again, this is not a perfect mask, but it doesn't have to be. We're just having fun. We're just adding a little dynamism, if that's a word, to a photo. So what do you guys think? Is that fun?
Oh, I like it. I like it a lot.
Cool. All right, let's go find another one here. Let me just bring up my film strip. I think I have some other photos in this album here. Let's show you another one we could do. All right, so here's one where we want to add it to just the train on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a filter. Let's add that blur filter. And this time I'm going to use the motion filter. And with motion, you can control, obviously, the distance, how much it goes, and then what the angle of that motion is. So I want to get an angle. Let me turn this down a little. It is kind of about the same angle as the windows of the train. So you can kind of see when the windows all are pointed the same direction, that means that's kind of the vector of the train, if you will. All right. So I've set that now. I'm going to turn it off for a minute because I can't see anything I'm doing. And I need to create a mask of just the train. Well, a great way to do that is just to use the line mask tool. It's going to go to my masking tools. And under here, there's a bunch of different tools to create a mask. So I'm going to use the line mask tool. In the line mask tool, you just create a shape that you want for it. So this lets me actually create a shape that is just the shape of the train. Where is the top of that train? I'm guessing it's about here. There. Let me zoom out just a little so I can see the edge of my photo. I can go outside, doesn't matter. There we go. That's where I want to apply it. So I'm going to set it to paint. And then I'm going to paint right in there. Oops, sorry, I did that wrong. Let's do erase. We'll go on the outside. There we go. Now if I turn that filter back on again, bonk, there we go. Now we're just blurring that train. And I can control how much blur I want for it. And it's a little bit hard on the top edge. I'm going to soften that a little bit. And I can soften it by going to my mask global settings. There's a feather slider, and that lets me soften that mask overall, just like that. So there we go.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. Changing the distance just kind of changes how fast the train is going to move, just like that. So again, just another fun way to add a little bit of motion to your photos. Let's see. I got 2 more I'll show you. One is just kind of your traditional panning. So I've got a subject in motion. If I want to add just a regular horizontal panning to it, same technique I used really on the first one. We're just going to use a motion rather than a radial blur for it. So I'm going to use my Super Select AI tool. I'm just going to drag a box over my subject, add in any other little spots that it might miss, and then set it to erase and right click, add a blur, and we'll set that to a motion blur. Use the distance amount to control how much blur we want to add, the angle to get the angle going the right direction, just like that. So very simple way to just add a little bit of motion. Again, I'm not worried about the edges being perfect because in an actual panning situation, the edges aren't going to be perfect anyway. So, all right, let me show you one more, a little more complex one. We'll just have some fun with this one. So a lot of distractions. We got these ugly little lights and these yellow lights, those little yellow patches peeking through from the sun. Let's see what we can do to make this a little cleaner, a little bit more fun. I'm going to add a filter. Let's add that blur filter to it again. And let's use the radial filter. Ooh, that looks fun. Kind of create a fun little tunnel here. There we go.
Dan, we're about to turn this into a drinking game, and every time you say the word "fun,"
Okay.
everybody
it's not fun.
Take a chug. All right, sorry. Back to your tutorial.
Yeah. So I'm just using a regular brush to mask out the airplane because I don't want the airplane to get any blur to it, right?
Right.
So I'm just using a regular old brush, nothing fancy here, just to paint that area out. And when I look at that airplane, it's just a little small and it's kind of going the wrong direction. Let's see if we can fix that. So I'm going to use the healing brush. Now the healing brush is normally used for removing distractions. So I can paint it over something I want to remove and fill it with an area that I want. Same thing you would do in other applications like Photoshop, but it can do more than that. It not only has a heal and a stamp option, but it also has a copy and a move option. So I'm just going to use the move option and I'm just going to, paint over this plane here. Where did it go? Sorry, my doorbell is ringing outside for some reason.
It's just that kind of day.
It is that kind of day here. What is going on here? Maybe it's copy. It's one of those things where you do it earlier in the day and it works just fine. So I'm going to make a copy of it. Now, the cool thing is if I hold down the Option key or the Alt key on my keyboard, it actually brings up little transform handles on that box. So I can actually take the area that it's copying and I can make it bigger. And I can rotate that guy too if I go out to the corner. So I actually want to rotate it so that it's going kind of the same direction as the rest of the shape in the photo. Look at there. So without having to create another layer and do a whole bunch of tricky masking and things like that, I was able to just copy that section, scale it and rotate it all non-destructively, just doing it right here inside of the filter. And I think the last thing this needs is probably a little bit of black and white too, right? I think this would look better in black and white.
Yeah, it would.
There we go. Something dark and moody like that one. There we go.
All right.
Cool.
So Dan, if you had to describe this technique in one word, what would it be?
Blurry. No.
No.
Fun. It's fun, Scott.
Yes,
Come on.
It's fun. This is very fun. All right, we have a question from George. George says, hi from CTHI. I don't even have any idea where that is, but George wants to know, will Resize AI be added to Photo Raw?
Yes, it will be coming. It's part of Photo Raw 2026.
Aha.
If you pay any attention, you know that every fall there's a new major release of Photo Raw. So,
Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right. Well, Dan, before you go, because we're about to wrap up, you wanted to do our featured photographer for this month, and you've got Michael Fatali. So I have Michael here on my screen. I don't know if you can. There we go.
There we go. Now we can see a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I have not met Michael. I've just always been a big fan of his work. He's not a user of our stuff that I know of, but I've just always been very a big admirer of his work. He's a large format Cibachrome photographer. You're not familiar with Cibachrome. It's more of a direct positive. You shoot chrome on the camera and then you print a positive print from it. It's a very old fashioned process. I'm not even sure how he manages to get the stuff to do it anymore.
No kidding.
Yeah. But what's really amazing to me is if you look at the details on some of his shots, he'll tell you how long he will camp out and wait for those photos. He'll say, I waited 3 days in this spot for the storm to come in and the light to look just right. And anybody who has the time and the dedication to literally camp out with an 8x10 camera and wait days and days for the right light or the right weather conditions, that says a lot about his his concern for the craft and how much he loves the craft of photography.
Yeah, wow. Very nice. Now, I will say I'm not a fan of the frames that he's choosing. We need to work on his framing, but his photography is beautiful.
Yeah.
Look at this.
He does some, if you're into, Moab, desert Southwest kind of stuff, he does some very, very beautiful stuff.
The detail is really something. And this is, he's shooting film, right? This is
this is all 4x5 or 8x10 chrome.
And he's developing them in the darkroom. Wow.
Yeah.
Very nice. Just gotta ask him if I can buy without the frame, because all I can do is throw that frame away. But anyway, yeah. Ooh, I like this one. Living Dunes, beautiful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Dan, thank you so much. Thank you for the information. Also about the little, knowing that that resize AI will be added. And I don't know if you folks, I know, Dan, you gave us a kind of a sneak preview of resize AI. I've been using it, and unbelievable. The results are just crazy. And I know a lot of people are thinking about it for wildlife, right? That's a big thing because you can never get close enough. You know what? Aviation photography. I have planes where a plane is doing something really cool and maybe it's way down there. And once I crop it in where I've got it, I'm down to like a 6 megapixel image. But you can just go, nope, 4 times bigger. Nope, 8 times bigger. And it's not just that it's bigger. It's not just that it maintains the quality. It often looks better after being resized 4 or 8 times the size. And you can start with a low res image and you wind up with a very high res image. It's like incredible math that's going on behind that scene. I can't even imagine. But congratulations to you guys for that. I know it's been getting rave reviews and winning awards. I mean, everybody's loving it. It's a big thing, but I mean, it's a game changer for a lot of people, especially for people who make prints, or for people like me. I don't shoot a 50 megapixel camera. I shoot a 24 megapixel camera. Sometimes I need to crop in. Every time you crop in, you go from 24 to 20 to 16 to 12. Oops, I'm at 8. I'm at 8 megapixels and stuff. And you can get all that back and more. And the image actually looks better. It's I can't even begin to understand it. But
yeah, no, it's great. The other place I love it is going back and looking at old stuff. So you've got those old 6 megapixel shots from your D100 or your D1X or D1H, and you've also got all the stuff from the early generations of the iPhone that were pretty small and honestly were kind of crummy looking compared to what we shoot today.
Yeah.
Imagine what you can do with those in this. It really brings those back to life. So.
Wow. Well, Dan, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it, and thanks for turning us on to Michael. And let me get you his web address here. So it's Michael, it's Fatali, just FATALI.com. Go take a moment to look at his work, and thank you for turning us on to him, Dan. And to everybody else, we will see you guys again next month. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks, everybody.
All right. We'll see you guys.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for watching. See you next time.